Hello and welcome to the Real Life Sports Show. This podcast is for sports fans and people playing sport. Anyone interested in sport, basically, whether that's watching it, playing it, or competing at any level. My name is Sam Adams. I'm known as the Real Life Coach. I'm a business owner and a life coach who works with sports professionals, whether that's athletes, coaches, and people in and around the sporting industry. And I help those people live more expansively, authentically, so that they can enhance their performance, whether that's playing their game or living their real life. My background is business, really. I've been in business for over 20 years in property, and I've mentored in that industry and coached. And that led me into life coaching, and then that led me into working with people in sport. Basically, because I'm passionate about sport. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about the hot topics in sport. We're going to talk about the real life behind the scenes, what it takes to be a professional athlete. We're going to have the latest news. We're going to have some discussions. I'm also going to share with you my experiences of coaching elite athletes. We will have some amazing guests, and they will be talking about the glamour and the glory, the medals, the achievements, the titles. But we'll also go behind the scenes to find out what it really takes, the grit and the grind, what it takes to excel as an elite athlete. For yourself, the listener, what I promise you is that you're going to get some great takeaways and insight from these podcast episodes. Whether you're looking to achieve or improve your mindset, it'll help you with your personal development, and it will give you that extra bit of insight and what it takes to be a high achiever. Also, I'd love for you to do me a big favour when you get to the end of this episode, or any episode, is leave a review. Leave me a 5-star review and I will be eternally grateful. So here we go, the Real Life Sports Show. I challenge you there, Kevin, to give it a go. Because one of the things I did in my group was, I challenge them to, I call it idle time. And it is basically do nothing. But when I say do nothing, I mean no phone, no TV, no tech, nothing. Just for 20 minutes a day. And that could be you're out on a walk. Yeah. But you've got nothing else going on in your ears. And that's how we become self-aware. And self-awareness is one of the greatest tools and gifts you'll give yourself to be your best self. Because a lot of people do come to me and go, I know I'm made for more. I know I can be more. I want to be a better person. Okay, spend some time on your own. Yeah. Well, hang on. What do you mean? Well, I do, yeah, but without any sound, anything, your phone, whatever. Get to know yourself. Listen to that. We've all got that inner dialogue going on. We've all got intuition, that inner intelligence. But actually, a lot of us don't give ourselves an opportunity for that to come out because we're constantly on the go. We're constantly busy. We're on our phones, we're watching TV, we're doing something. We have no time for that quiet, still voice to come through, which is those quiet. If you think about it, a lot of great ideas are born in the shower. Well, except for you, because you got music on or you got a podcast. But a lot of people, you're in the shower, there's nothing else going on. You're just cleaning yourself and you'll have a brainwave. Yeah. Because you're giving that quiet, still voice the opportunity to come through.
Space, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and so like now when I run, I not all of the way, like I run 6K the other day. I ran 6K with music and 6K back without it. And so the bit coming back, I had nothing, just to get to know myself and self-awareness about, some people don't even want to go there because it's like, I don't really want to know how I tick. But it's one of the best things you can do for yourself, I promise you. What you like, what you don't like, evaluating how you show up in the world and reflecting on your behavior. It's, just being freaking honest with yourself and who you are. It's a beautiful thing. But
exactly. And that's what I mean, like in terms of going into this time, because I've always, I suppose that's like, it's the same situation as the noise in your ears all the time. Like my life has been, am I getting claps basically since as a little kid? Are people clapping me? If they are, everything's great. If they're not, everything's bad. Like that's been my life until now. They used to call me on one of the tours that I did, one of my mates labeled me Tinkerbell. after Hook, you know the film Hook?
Yeah.
And Julia Roberts is Tinkerbell, and you have to, when she's dying, you have to clap to keep her alive.
Right.
So they called me Tinkerbell because I'd literally be like, one night I'd have a really good show, but like the audience has gone nuts, and we've got like 4 standing ovations at the end.
Yeah.
Like this, and I come off like, oh, we have the best job in the world. I love this. I love what I do. What a great night. Everything's brilliant. The next night, this actually happened. Like we got 4 standing ovations that night. The next night, we went out and we did another great show, and we got 3 standing ovations. And I wanted to give up dancing.
Oh my God.
Because the night before we had 4, and this night we only got 3. So my ridiculous brain went, I've lost it.
Rubbish.
I've obviously wasn't as good as I was last night. I'm obviously losing it. I'm obviously past my best. I don't want to do this anymore. And I felt worthless. I got 3 standing ovations and I felt worthless.
Yeah.
And it's like that. And I think just in this last year has been my period of taking the earphones out for the last 6K.
Yeah.
and going, okay, without all of that, without the audiences, without being on TV, without, just sat at home, am I all right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I've finally gone, yeah, I think I'm all right. I think I'm all right without it. So
exactly. And it's like you're enough without all of that,
Yeah.
Like, I've said, of course I want to impact and feel that, I inspire people, but I know that, right now in this moment, I always say today's a non-refundable day. It's saying that I say a lot. And in this moment, am I happy? Do I feel good? Am I a good person? Am I showing up as me? Two keys to success for me is, do I show up in the real world as myself every day? And the other thing I always say is my week, my way, that I get to choose. That basically means, I'm a good person in this moment. I feel good. I know that I'm a kind, decent human being, and I'm enough. I'm enough. Yeah. And a lot of people don't get an opportunity to, especially in sports and celebrities, it depends where the celebrities come from, but in a lot of the sport where you've done it from a very young age and that's all they know, there hasn't been that opportunity to do that work and know who they really are outside of being a footballer or a cricketer or a rugby player. And that's when, like I said before, when things come to an end through injury or end of career, it's like, well, who the fuck am I? And then you can go, sadly, there's more divorces after career, in sports, there's more bankruptcies, depression, alcoholism, addiction. Statistics are terrible after the career ends. And that's why I'm passionate about what I do, because I think that if you did that work along the way, then whether you were having an injury that ends your career or, you naturally come to the end of your career, you're more prepared for that. You know who you are. You know that this isn't, your sport isn't life. It's just a part of life. Just like dancing for you, there is a big conversation about identity for people like yourselves, and you're seen as Kevin the dancer or, Marcus the footballer, but who are you outside of that? And that's the piece of work that that gets missing, especially when you've done something as a child and this is all you know and all you've ever known. I want to ask you, great conversation, by the way. I probably talked to you for hours, but I want to talk to you about obviously all that competition that you did until your 20s. What, because this show we do, we talk about what goes on to be that athlete, to be that, you, like you said, you had to train like an athlete. What was that like for you? What was the blood, sweat and tears to show up on the dance floor and compete like?
A lot of just maintaining fitness and stamina levels. So we'd be given sort of programs that we had to do just in terms of training. A lot of, as I got into my 20s, there was a lot more talk about diet. I don't think it was necessarily great, actually, the whatever nutritional advice I was being given. A lot of the time it was like, just don't eat apart from these protein powders, like that sort of thing. So there was a lot of, don't eat that, don't eat that, don't eat that.
Did you find it easy, the diet side of things?
no, not at all.
Right.
Not at all. Hated it. And just to be honest, a lot of it was you're traveling around from competition to competition all over the world, which is sort of exciting. But at the same time, following on from the conversation we just had, really, is that there's this weird pressure to be seen in a certain way all the time, because you're all the time interacting with people who are going to be judging these big competitions. So you want to be seen like you're seen in a good light in a way, and you'd be having guest lessons with teachers. So you had to play a bit of a political game.
Right.
Like you'd be having guest lessons with certain teachers because they might be judging you at the German Open or at Blackpool or whatever. And you want to go in and have that lesson and make a good impression. So you sort of always have to be on your best behavior all the time in front of everyone. So it's like maintaining this personality of someone that everybody likes and who we can have as our champion, like you had to be that, give off the air of a champion all the time. And then it's just a lot of hours of practice, really, just a lot of hours of, I used to love practicing amongst other couples. So there'd be like practice nights at studios where loads of competitors would be there and they'd play music and you just dance. And there was always a good energy about those nights, just sweaty dance studios. But when the hard ones are the ones that are just like, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and you're doing a samba. Like no one wants to do a samba at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like it's such an evening thing to do. Like, but you're practicing samba with your dance partner, and there's ego involved, and a lot of couples end up arguing with each other on, because like if me and you are dancing together and then I say to you, no, it just doesn't feel right going into this bit. And then you say to me, well, it's because you're not leading me properly on that bit. If you want me to do this, you need to lead me like this. Well, now you're telling me how I've got to lead. And I don't like that because it hurts my ego because I've got to, and all of that. And you just end up fighting about mechanics of your dancing, which is tedious and practicing those, the technical bits, like we call them rumba walks, those sort of Latin walks where you're walking on straight legs up and down the room. And that's the thing that you do the most. It's like the basic thing that I want you to practice rumba walks for an hour. Like, it's boring. It's so boring. Or the worst, then your teacher would say, now as stamina practice, now I'm going to play a jive. And I want you, it's going to be 6 minutes long, and you've got to keep kicking for 6 minutes of this drive. And it feels horrible. And then, right, do it again. And for the competition, you'd have to do 5 dances in the final, in the semi and in the final without heats, heat 1, do this, and heat 2, do that. In the semi and final, everyone's on the floor, 5 dances. So they'd do stamina tests of like, you've got to be able to do 5 dances in a row without getting tired. So you do those tests, and that's tiring. And there's just a lot of tiring stuff and tedious, boring arguing with your partner stuff. So learning to communicate is difficult.
I can imagine that, even on Strictly, well, I mean, maybe not so much with your celebrity partner, because clearly most of them don't really understand the technicalities or know how to dance, but you have there's a lot of professional dances that happen. Were there conflict in those or not so much in Strictly?
On Strictly, you mean the pros with each other?
Yeah.
No, not really. To be honest, in the group numbers on Strictly, I think there's a real feeling of the end goal is we want to make this show really good. If I'm honest, when I first joined, there was a couple of them that had sort of been there a few years that were probably on their last year or two, that they could be a bit angsty in the room and didn't like it, especially if like us younger, the likes of me and Ali Ash coming in, like if we were getting put at the front, Yeah, if us young whippersnappers were getting put at the front or something, or like
Egos.
you get a bit attached. Yeah, a couple of egos in there, but then they left, and then it sort of quietened down. And I think now it's probably the best sort of group more than ever, where everyone's just working for the best result they can for the show. It's very much a team.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah.
Ultimately for the greater good.
Yeah.
What was the toughest bit about competition then? Because obviously, eventually you did give up. But what did you find hardest about competing?
Probably. Well, I don't know whether it was just me being Larry or what, but I felt like I had to have a lot of dance lessons with a lot of people that were telling me how I needed to dance, and some of the time I would feel that actually they weren't really teaching me much. Like I would feel that that I was probably having lessons with them because I was told to, because they might be judging me at some point. I had to make sure I was in with the right people and make sure I was showing myself, to all the right people all the time. And
did you feel that though? Did you feel that, obviously you spoke about that bit a little bit before, obviously talking about, always being on show and on your best behavior. And when you were talking about that before, I've talked about this with a couple of footballers, like, you go to a new club and hopefully you're going to bond with your teammates, but equally there is always going to be a couple of other players that are up to the same position as you. So they might give you the cold shoulder because you're now here and compete for the same position as them. And then the other pressure that you feel is that if you're struggling with your mindset, your mental health, or you're just a bit down or whatever, they don't feel able to share it because in front of their coach and their managers and all of that, they feel like they can't show that they've got an issue, because ultimately they decide their destiny. And it sounds a bit like that with a similarity with you.
Yeah. You don't want to show any weakness. You don't want to show any vulnerability. You want to show that you're on your way to becoming the champion and you're the one to back, and that you're strong, and also with your partner, I guess, like, unless you've got a relationship with your dance partner that's very trusting, like, you have a few different partners in your competitive career until you find like that partner that you sort of end with. But sometimes you're just arguing, and then there's always that, if it gets too bad, that partner could go elsewhere and find a different partner.
Yeah.
And so you don't want that dance partner to think that you're sort of weak in any way, or in a way that might hold them back from becoming champions. There's an element of like, oh God, don't say that, because then they'll feel that they have to deal with you, whereas they just want to focus on winning.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that comes into it, and like I say, the egos come in when you're arguing about, when I'm saying you're doing it wrong and you're saying I'm doing it wrong. Ultimately, it's difficult to back down. Like, you want to be proved right, because if you're wrong all the time, then like if you're wrong all the time on it and they're right, then does that mean that they're a better dancer than you and they should probably get a new partner? Like, it's just odd. You just spend so many days like in pure daylight on your own in an empty, sort of non-inspiring dance studio, arguing with your dance partner about the finer details of a samba.
Yeah.
It's tedious.
I'm sure. I'm sure there's a hell of a amount of pressure. Look, I've got loads of questions, Kevin. I'm very conscious of time, and I feel like I should ask some of other people's questions rather than my own. Do you need to check your?
No, I'm fine. I just got a missed call.
Okay, cool. I'm sure you probably get hundreds of calls. Let me just see if I can find these questions. I had them all lined up, and now I can't find it. It's typical, isn't it? I have them all lined up on my phone. Here we go. I won't ask too many, but I feel like I should, and some of them are stupid. So, Emma asks, "I'd love to know any tips on remembering to count steps. I had dance classes for 6 months, and I had a nightmare counting. I guess, is it all like 1, 2, 3 in your head and all of that? Do you do all of that?"
So what I used to do with my celeb partners on Strictly if they couldn't remember sort of the order or the like the counts of what they're supposed to do. And if you're counting like 5, 6, and 7, and 8, and because the steps go back, 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 but you know, like that, they don't know what you're talking about in terms of. I remember trying to describe the breakdown of the beats of the rhythm in samba, of how they work like 3/4, quarter one, 3/4, quarter one. That's the basic. And Stacey just being like, I don't know what you're talking about. But like what I found I could do sometimes is just give it a sentence. So I used to. What was the one with Susan? We had a really funny one with Susan Calman. It was like it probably wasn't this, but it was something like, and needed it. She couldn't quite get the rhythm of the counts of this thing in the cha-cha, and we ended up going, Susan Calman is an awesome dancer. And then it needed to go like, it needed to go da 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 da. And so it was like, Susan Calman is an awesome dancer. Kevin Clifton is a and then Susan would just insert whatever word she wanted at the end of that. But she would have fun with it, and she'd like call me a different stupid name at the end of that. But then she'd remember it because it'd be like, Susan Calman is an awesome dancer.
Brilliant.
Kevin Clifton is a, you know, whatever.
There you go, Emma. If you're listening, there's your answer. My beautiful friend Carrie said, "Oh my God, I love Kevin and Stacey in brackets." She's put so. For you. Please give him a big kiss. So I've done that for you. Done that for you, Carrie. She's one of my good friends. I had to do that. Michaela asked, what mindset tools do you implement during training when you're not feeling it? I think that was a great question.
What was the first part? What
mindset tools do you, or did you, I guess, or maybe you probably still do, because you're obviously still doing your shows and stuff. Well, not this year, but do you implement during training when you're not feeling it? Because I guess, like everything, you know, we don't always turn up and feel super motivated.
The thing is, I think sometimes we romanticize, like, I'm a harder worker than anyone else. I'm just going to keep doing all these hours. And sometimes we don't work properly. We just do more hours. We just do more time on it, but we're not actually working efficiently. And sometimes I think it's okay to take a break. You know, it's okay to say, like, I'm just not going to, like, today I'm not going to do it. But then you put a limit on it, like, okay, today I'm just going to not do this. But that means tomorrow I have to.
Yeah.
Like you put that on it. Because sometimes I remember we were having a conversation on Clubhouse about burnout at one point, and you were saying, like, you can feel so burnt out and you feel like you're overwhelmed and you want to quit. And sometimes you don't need to quit. You just need 2-3 days off. And it's surprising how quickly you can recharge, I think, like if you just take a little bit of time off. I certainly found that. But then sometimes what I found, because of course you don't always feel like, okay, yeah, I'm going to get up and train again tomorrow. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. But what I've found really helps me now is writing down the night before your plan for the day. Yeah. Because it's a lot easier to let yourself off from something, or I'm not feeling it, if you're just in that moment. Whereas if you've written it down the night before, this is my plan for the day, you're so much more likely to do it. I don't know why. There's some satisfaction in ticking it off, you know.
No, there is, you know, I always say plan tomorrow today. And I do that. And in my group, we set intentions for the day. And even for myself, like I love being outside, whether I'm riding my bike, running or whatever. But some days I don't want to run. So I always talk about creating the path of least resistance. So plan tomorrow today. And I get my running gear set up the night before. So when I get up in the morning, it's there, it's looking at me, rather than I've got to go to the drawer. And I know it seems like a small thing, but actually you're creating resistance. Yeah.
No, definitely. I heard a story about someone who apparently, like, it was yoga was their thing that they really wanted to keep doing first thing in the morning. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do yoga every morning. And then they just didn't. So they started putting their yoga mat right next to their bed. So they literally rolled out of bed onto their yoga mat. And it just became like this structure. It was like, okay, I'm going to, it's just, there's loads of little hacks like that. I'm finding
simple little things, right? It's like, Well, I don't run, like this morning was my HIIT session day. So before I went to bed last night, I work out, and because I've got like a kitchen lounge area. So I literally behind where I am, I've got everything all in one space. I just roll out my workout mat. So it's there as soon as I get up in the morning, come in here, sort the dog out. It's staring me in the face and it's like, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It makes sense.
I did another one the other morning because I was talking to someone and they were talking about like getting up earlier and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, right, I'm going to try that. I'm just going to, like, my problem is like, I always snooze, always hit the snooze button every morning.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, just get out of bed. And I'm like, I find that really difficult just to like, alarm goes off, get out of bed. And they were like, I've got this trick for it. I went, what? They went, set your alarm on your phone and then put your phone and set a really annoying alarm and put it away from the bed where you can't reach it. So like it's the other side of the room, or it's in, just outside the door, but it's so annoying that you have to go and turn it off. And the only way you can turn it off is to get out of bed. And once you're out of bed, you're out of bed.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Loads of hacks like that.
Yeah, no, there's like, and it does work. Like I don't have a problem getting up. I'm pretty good with that, but it's definitely one that I've heard before. Yeah. And it's interesting you saying about creating that space. Sometimes it's okay to have a day off. And I used to always say like to my guys, it's like, yeah, all right, you can have a duvet day today. I'll even let you have one tomorrow if you wake up feeling shit tomorrow, but you're not having 3. None of you get 3. You're not having 3. Feel sorry for yourself today. We all need a duvet day now and again, but it's when you let it roll on, and that's when you have the problem.
Because you always in that with that sentence of like when you're not feeling it. I feel like that's most of the time. If left unstructured, like if you haven't written down a plan, if you hadn't set out, like you say, set out your intentions, like after we finished talking, like if I sit and for 2 seconds go, right, my moment right now, what do I want to do? Do I want to work out or watch wrestling? Well, I want to watch wrestling. Obviously, no one's like, oh my god, I want to work out. Like, I mean, some people probably are, but like, just
I do occasionally. I've got to admit, especially going
like, you always just want it. Like, there's always a nicer option. But I think if you have a plan for it and a structure, even with stuff that isn't that difficult, you would think. Because I just set myself one of like, I'm gonna, I'd love to do a bit of like a writing course because I'm doing more writing at the moment, and I'd love to read more than I do. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I've got loads of time. I'm going to read. And then you just don't, because by accident, suddenly you're scrolling Instagram for an hour. But then I started writing down the night before, okay, wake up at this time. And the first thing we do, make a coffee, go outside and read 3 chapters. And that was my first task of the day. And then that feels like a nice task actually to do. But then I was actually doing it, but I only seem to do it if I write it down. Yeah. Otherwise you're going through the day reacting to everything that's happening.
And that's, you make that great point about reacting, and this is why I talk about it a lot, is because if we got up with no plan, let's be honest, life push and shoves us around anyway.
The day takes over you.
Exactly. And you get to like 4 o'clock, shit, I haven't worked out, I haven't done X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And the best way to live life, is by intention, is by creating your life. What do you want in your life? So you have to create the space for it, like, like you're now doing. Like I'm the same. I have a set morning routine. I bookend my day, morning and evening, and I get up, I journal, I read, and I write. I'm like you, I'm trying to write more as well, Kevin. Not my strong point, but unless I practice and I do it, I'm not going to get any better, right?
Yeah.
So I have to sort of schedule it in, and it does work wonders when you, when you live like that. Some people think it's boring, or, how is that going to help me? But actually, it saves you time. It creates discipline and some great habits. And when the shit hits the fan, you've got something to fall back on. These routines will help keep you grounded. So I think there's a lot to be said for them. And I think one other thing I wanted to pick up with you was when you talked about overwhelm. And that happens a lot for a lot of us. Obviously, the way we live these days, what we've got going on, our ancestors would have to deal with, the amount of stuff we deal with in a bloody week, they probably dealt with in a lifetime. I think that's I can't remember who says that now, but somebody does say that. So we are consuming a lot of information, work, and everything like that. And we talk about this thing, overwhelm. Yeah. And the thing with overwhelm, I learned this from a guy called Michael Neal, is that overwhelm, we think it means we've got too much to do, but it actually isn't. We're applying too much thought or too much thinking to things. Overload is when you've got too much to do. Yeah. Overwhelm is when you're attaching too much thinking to things in your life and the things that are going on. So if you are genuinely overwhelmed, it's doing something around your thinking and setting certain things aside. If you've got overload where you've just filled your agenda up, or you've got an agenda problem, you've got a calendar problem and you need to take some things out. Yeah. And so it comes back to overwhelm, comes back to basically creating space, but creating space in your mind.
Yeah. And for things that definitely align with what you're trying to do, what your intention is, or what your highest values are. Because if you just love watching Netflix, I suppose, like, and someone goes, you're gonna be watching Netflix like all day, every day for the next 5 days, you're probably not gonna feel overwhelmed, like, because you just love watching Netflix. Like, if you love what you're doing, you're not feeling that overwhelmed, I think. So maybe like it's some kind of, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but like maybe it's there's some kind of conflict in there in your head, like you're saying, you're thinking about things too much because there's some kind of anxiety attached to it, or like, something else in there that's not aligned with the thing itself. I guess like what you're saying about Federer, about like, he could be overwhelmed if he's overthinking. Yeah. Right, I've got to make sure that I win Wimbledon, and I've got to look good doing it because of this brand deal that I've got. Yeah. And I've got to show off the logo. Yeah. And I've got to do a good interview afterwards. And I've got to, I've got all these things that actually are not the most important things to him, really, and his values and beliefs. But it's just, he's got anxious thoughts about these things. Yeah. When actually you were saying, like, Federer, he just goes on court to play tennis. And he likes doing that. So
exactly. And that comes back to that bit I was talking about, which I'm always talking about, is being the real you, being who you really are. Yeah. And you'll play with much more freedom. You'll perform better. You'll unlock your potential, and you will. I believe you'll be your best that you can be. Yeah. So this is a great conversation, by the way.
I love it.
All right, I'm going to ask another question. Jackie asks, which dance puffs you out the most? Is it the jive?
I think it would have to be. The jive's definitely the most energetic. Yeah. And they put it in competitions, they put it at the end. Like, so you, in a Latin competition, you do cha-cha, samba, rumba, paso doble, jive. Yeah. So at the end of like a grueling competition where you've gone through rounds and rounds and rounds, and then you're in the final and you do the 5 dances, that last jive is like a killer.
Yeah, it's just survival on it. It's like
it's literally just survival. The jive is a tough one, and especially if you're doing it right. Like, there's ways that you can do a lazier style of jive, but if you're doing like a proper energetic jive, it's like, it's a killer.
I used to watch my mum always, my mum's 84 now, but she's as fit as a flea. And like I said, sadly my dad passed away, but she always had more energy than him, always fitter. And watching my mum do the jive was amazing. Like, she had so much energy, it's unbelievable. I take my hat, I can't jive for like a minute. I mean, can't really jive very well anyway, but I can't badly jive for a minute. Even though I can run and cycle and do all sorts, jive. No.
Yeah, but that's interesting, because I feel like I could jive for a long time. I'm good at that. But then the other day I went to there's some tennis courts in the park where I live, and my next door neighbour was like, "Do you want to go and play tennis?" I was like, "Yeah, brilliant." And neither of us are very good, but it was, we were allowed all of a sudden, the restrictions, we're allowed to go and play tennis. So we're like, yeah, let's do it. And he's got a couple of rackets and some balls, and we went and played tennis. And I was exhausted. Like, a couple of games in, I was exhausted.
Yeah, seemed like a good idea, right?
Yeah.
And it's weird.
I loved it, but I was knackered.
Last week, one of my good friends So, and I love tennis. Like tennis is probably the sport I love the most. Like
Right.
I'll watch it live. My dad was a great tennis player. I'll watch it on the TV. I'm a massive Serena Williams fan. I'm shit at playing it though. So I haven't played for ages. And my friend said, "Do you want to come play tennis? We can play tennis." So this was just this week gone, like Monday. And I loved it, but like you, I was absolutely only an hour. I was like, how do these tennis players play tennis for 3-4 hours? I've no idea.
Whole new level of respect for like them that just playing, when it's a 5-set thriller, and I'm just like, I don't know how you're still standing up.
They're incredible athletes. So yeah, if you want a game, Kevin, maybe me and you should play, because it sounds like we've got the same kind of ability.
I don't know, I'm sure you'd batter me. I'm like,
honestly not. If you saw it, you'd think, yeah, I'll give Sam a game. I might win. I might actually win. Okay, 1 second. I don't want to carry on with these questions too much, because it's not fair. What was the best costume you had to wear in Strictly?
I suppose. Well, I loved on my first year, I did Paso Doble with Susanna Reid, and they made me this red sort of Paso, matador suit, and I was doing flamenco on a board at the beginning. I had a microphone going down the trousers to my heels to like do this flames around it. I just loved it. So that Paso outfit, I've still got that. And then probably like certainly one of the funniest ones is when I did Minions with Stacey.
Yeah, I remember. Do you know why I remember that? Because I love Minions. I love the Minions.
I remember I fought against it for so long, because they my idea for movie week that I pitched to them was, let's do Tomb Raider. So Stacey can be Lara Croft. It sort of fits with her traveling around the world, being the sort of fierce, independent woman, brilliant. Yeah. And I wanted to do, because the latest Tomb Raider film had the song, "I'm a Survivor." I thought, we'll do that. We'll do like a samba or something to that, and she can be Lara Croft. And they were like, okay, I mean, it's not a bad idea. What do you think of Minions? I was like, what? I was like, why do you always do this to me? Because they know I always end up saying yes.
Yeah.
Like, some of the others will go, no, I'm not having any of that. Don't dress me up as a cartoon or any of that. I want to do something cool. And I always end up saying yes. So what about Minions? And I was like, no, like, I don't want to do it. And then I asked loads of people. I said, what do you think? Tomb Raider or Minions? Without giving them any context. Just movie week, Stacey, Tomb Raider or Minions. And everyone said Minions.
Yeah, Minions are great.
Everyone was like, definitely do Minions. 100% do Minions. I was like, oh, what? And then I found this really cool choreographer who was doing the group number for Strictly. And she's a commercial choreographer called Beth Honan. And she choreographs all of Little Mix's shows and all of that. Like she's brilliant. Like, and she's really cool. And I thought, if anyone's going to get it, it's going to be Beth. And I said, like, Beth, I really respect your opinion. So I'm going to give you, again, no context, just Stacey Dooley, movie week. And I say I had no context. I framed it a little bit. I was like, Minions or Tomb Raider? And she went 100% Minions.
Oh, brilliant.
I was like, oh my God. And I was like, why? And she said, because no one watches Strictly to see people take themselves too seriously.
This is true. Rule number 6.
Yeah. She went, we all know that Stacey is a fierce, independent, strong woman that travels around the world. We know she's like a Lara Croft.
Yeah.
But we've never seen her being a minion.
Exactly.
Like, we want to see people having fun and being all right with having a laugh at themselves and all of this. And I was like, all right, we'll do Minions. And it turned out to be the best decision I've ever made on Strictly, because everyone enjoyed it.
And everyone loves the Minions.
Everyone
loves the Minions.
Yeah.
Something I say a lot is, don't ever forget rule number 6. And of course, everyone goes, oh, what's rule number 6? Rule number 6 is don't take yourself too seriously.
There you go.
So if you're ever in a shit situation, or I don't know, if Stacey's around and she comes in and she's going, ah, and you go, Stacey, don't forget rule number 6.
Rule number 6.
Calms everything down. Do you have any regrets about leaving Strictly? I think I know the answer, but
no, not really. I suppose I miss the gang a bit, I suppose. You know, it's a lovely team that work there. Not just all the dancers, but all the like behind the scenes, like the wardrobe team, the hair and makeup team, the camera team, and props team, and producers. Like, it's such a nice sort of family atmosphere there. So, you know, I miss the gang a little bit. But no, I feel like I left at the right time, and I'm doing other things, and I'm doing a lot of theatre. Well, you know, once theatres are open again. So, and like we said before, I'd still like to come back and be a judge.
Look forward to that day. Right, I'm going to try and wrap up in the next few minutes. I just want you, I guess, what's been your highlight in the last, well, you know, pretty much most of your life, because you've been dancing pretty much most of your life. What's standout highlights for you?
Standout highlights of it, I suppose, when we went to Broadway with Burn the Floor.
I read somewhere before you loved that, didn't you?
Yeah, back in 2009, because I just didn't even imagine that was a possibility. It was so far beyond, and we really worked hard for it as a company. We were performing in tiny little theaters here and there. We were performing in like casinos, like a casino in Reno, Nevada, sometimes to about 11 people. At one point we were doing a contract in a theme park in Busch Gardens in Florida, dancing in front of one person, because the rule was if one person came in, then you had to go on. Right. And we were doing three shows a day in this, like imagine like a theme park where you can go and get like your burger and fries, and there's a bit of a show on.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Garden, so
yeah. So it was this rainy day, and this one kid came in, not interested, just eating his burger and fries, and we had to go on and perform. But we would always work really hard, and we really sort of believed in ourselves as a show, and we went to bigger and bigger and bigger, and we ended up in San Francisco in this theater that was like potential springboard to Broadway. And then we were told, you're going to Broadway, and it was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be a 7-week run or an 8-week run that we'd signed to do on Broadway, and it just kept selling really well, and reviews were great, and word of mouth was great. We stayed there for about 8 months.
Wow.
And so that was really special. And then I suppose I've got lots of special moments with Burn the Floor. I just love performing with Burn the Floor. And then I guess, Strictly as well, really. Like there's a few moments on Strictly. I think the Paso with Susanna Reid, because it had taken me a few goes to get on the show, I always felt like I was sort of like having to earn my keep, and I felt like that night sort of cemented my place on the show a little bit.
Brilliant.
I think when me and Susan Kalman did Quick Step to Bring Me Sunshine.
Oh yeah, I remember, yeah, that was nice.
It was just, I had such a lovely time. Like, it just felt amazing that night. Yeah. And she did great, and she was so happy, and like, I don't know, it just all sort of came together. And then I suppose dancing with Stace, really. And
I'll say it, haven't you?
yeah. I mean, winning with
this, but if she does, said it.
As much as I'm all about, dancing as an art and I just want to express myself and entertain, it was still nice to win the glitter ball. It was a really lovely moment.
Yeah.
Winning with Stace that night was amazing. And I think doing the Paso with Stace, there was a few moments with Stace. Doing the Paso with Stace, because she struggled all week. It's like she just could not get it. And then finally, on the Saturday night, it all came together, and she just blitzed it and was amazing. That was. But there was a few dances with Stacey that I can look at and go like, that was just.
Yeah.
I can't believe you just did that.
Yeah, that's incredible, and that's what's so great about the show, isn't it? You hear this a lot, and I hate it coming on here and asking the same typical questions, but it's bloody hard not to. But you see this person turn up at the beginning, and think, shit, they ain't going to be able to dance for toffee, and they can't. But by the end of it,
it's incredible what they do. Yeah. And it's just pure, it's focus, because people are always like, how do they go from doing nothing? They must have all had some training before coming on, but they don't. But it's like, it's this weird sort of pure focus training, because someone came to me and said like, but I've been dancing for however many years and I still can't dance like that. And I was like, yeah, but how much do you do? Like a week? He goes, well, we go to our dance class on a Thursday, an hour. was like, so you do an hour every Thursday. So you do this hour where you're learning something, and then you forget about it for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
You're not focused on it. You're not practicing it. You forget about it for a week, and then you do an hour the next week to sort of remember it and consolidate. And you'll work for 6 weeks on that same bit, an hour a week. I was like, that bit that you've done, we do in the first couple of hours of our week, and the rest of it is we're just still going, just focused, training.
It's that total immersion, isn't it?
Yeah.
And some people really work really well like that, don't they? Like that's how, or learn well like that. You know, I learn well. Like I've got my full motorbike license. There is no way I could go for a lesson once a week or whatever. I knew I had to go for 7 days and just be there every day for 7 days.
Yeah.
I'd never have done it otherwise. And I've done a lot of things like that in my life because I just know that I learn best like that, by total immersion.
Yeah. And then it's sort of, not only are you training the muscle memory of all the movement, but you're also sort of training the muscle memory like of your brain and its routine.
Yeah.
Okay. This week, this is how my week goes. I'm practicing this, and I'm training this, and I'm learning this, and it stays in. And you know, and
that massively helps you physically as well. There's loads of research into that, like just thinking about it and, you know, going through the moves in your head, like athletes, you know, before the race, and keep repeating that in your mind has an impact on the actual event. So there's loads of research around that. Yeah.
So like by week 8, they're learning the routines quicker, even if it's a completely new routine and not like something they've done before. It's completely, the learning process is completely different to week 1.
Yeah.
They're just in that zone.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, apart from Stacey, obviously, who is your favourite dancer outside of Stacey?
In terms of Strictly, or in terms of
Strictly?
I just don't have an answer. Like, it's too hard. All my partners have been great, and you know, I had an amazing time with all of them, and they've all brought something different to the table.
Was it hard? Like, and I'm going to pick on Alex Scott because obviously I like my sport, and Alex played football.
Yeah.
I'd love to get her on my podcast as well. So, but I'm going to pick on her because actually you didn't start with her, did you?
No.
Because she started with Neil. Yeah, and then you came and took over, and you know, you guys did amazing together. What was that? How did you find that? Because that is completely different to all of your other experiences.
Yeah, well, for me, it was just a case of like, okay, there's someone new. I've got to, as quickly as possible, find out, you know, sort of how she works, but also how her and Neil work, because it'd be wrong for me to come in and start changing her whole process, especially because it's not her comfort zone either. What was brilliant was, first of all, Neil was choreographing it in a way that, because he couldn't perform it, he was like, okay, I'm not choreographing for me and her now. I'm choreographing a routine for her and Kevin. So what's going to work well for Kevin as well as her? Yeah. So he took that attitude, which was good. But what was really interesting about Alex, and I don't know whether it comes from her, you know, being in sport, was that she was very much like, it didn't phase her. Right. It wasn't like a lot of people. I would have totally forgiven her if she would have been, oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, this is all completely different. It feels different dancing with you, and you work differently, and oh God, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm embarrassed in front of you, and blah, 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 all of that stuff. Like, I would have been like, yeah, I get it. She wasn't at all. She was just like, she was so like, okay, this is the situation in front of me. This is the situation I'm dealing with. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is the pass of the ball that's come to me. That's what I've got to work with. Not trying to control it. She was just like, there's no point in me getting stressed over it. Like, it's going to go how it's going to go. I've just got to, you know, and I was being almost tentative. I was like, do you prefer it if I show you like this? Or, you know, because I don't know if Neil does it in this way, or would you prefer it if I just chuck all the choreography at you straight away, or work with you on this bit of technique? And she was just like, you're the expert. I'm in your hands. Whatever you say, I'll just do it. And she was so calm under pressure. Like, she really was. Like, the night that I had to go on at the last minute for Ghostbusters, because that really was last minute that Neil got injured, and I did not know the routine. No, I remember that. before the show went live, and I was being taught the routine on the fly, and she was going to, and she was so calm. under pressure, that she was just like, look, it is what it is, you know. And I messed it up halfway through the routine, and she kept it on the right track. And she was talking, normally it's the pro talking under their breath to the celeb, going left foot and 5, 6, 7, 8, and like, we've become very good ventriloquists.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
She was the one doing that to me. She was like, and left, and now grab the gun and turn on the floor, like getting me through the routine. And it was so impressive to watch her do that. She was brilliant, really brilliant.
That's really cool. 2 questions, I promise, and then I'll let you go.
Oh, yeah.
You did say you had no time.
Yeah. I'm easy.
I bet you're wishing you hadn't said that.
No.
I guess what's life like for you now going forward? Obviously, we're now starting to come out of the pandemic. You know, what's your plans for the future? With everything that you're doing.
So I can't wait for the theatres to open, because I got some shows to do. Burn the Floor, we're going out. Actually, it hasn't been announced the dates yet, but Burn the Floor, we are going out soon. Back on tour. yeah, sure. And Strictly Ballroom, the musical, obviously is going out from September 22. There's a couple of other projects that I'm not allowed to announce yet. They haven't been announced, but theatre stuff that I'm doing, which I'm really excited about. So I'm doing a lot more singing and acting now.
Cool.
I'm also writing a TV drama.
Oh, wow.
Based on my experiences in the competition world of ballroom dancing.
Brilliant.
So that's, the wheels are really starting to turn on that now. And I'm also writing a children's book as well, about surprisingly, a young lad who's a ballroom dancer, a young lad who discovers ballroom dancing.
Wow, that's amazing. You're way ahead with the writing than me. I made 2021 the year that I'm going to write my book.
Yeah.
But the second half. I wish you well with all of that, Kevin. I really, really do. I guess my final question is then, you know, what one question have I not asked you that you wished I had?
What one question? I think you've asked me all the good ones, to be fair.
I want to come with all the questions that no one else asked, but it's really difficult.
Yeah, but it's good because we've talked about, you know, like, I don't often get to talk about sport and art in terms of dancing, and we've talked about, you know, identity and our habits and those kind of things, and I love that. I love all the mindset stuff. The only thing you didn't ask me was, what would you have been if you weren't a dancer? And the answer is a WWE wrestler.
More outfits. You just like outfits.
That's it. I just want to get tanned and put an outfit on at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so old. I remember watching wrestling, you know, like way back in the day before WWE, and it was proper big. Do you remember Big Daddy and all of that? Well, you probably don't, because you're not old as me.
Well, I've heard of Big Daddy, yeah.
I watched Big Daddy. That's how old I am. And that's what we only had like 3 channels on the TV then, and yeah, that's what we watched on a Saturday, was the wrestling.
But I won't go off on a tangent about that, because as Stacey tells me every day, please stop talking about wrestling. Because she doesn't care.
I was just going to say, she's obviously not fallen in love with it like, you know, you loved it, so I'm going to love it.
Because what I tend to do is I compare everything to wrestling. It's like, you know, because I won't go off on a tangent about it because it'll be another 3 hours. But basically, like, to me, Strictly Come Dancing and pro wrestling are the same show, you know, in what we do. And reality TV is born out of wrestling. It's just that wrestling's ahead of the game, you know. In wrestling was where reality TV is now, produced reality, you know, like, oh, sit down and have this argument at the table for the cameras, you know, like that. That's, you know, wrestling's been doing that for decades. It's the same thing. It's the same idea. And to me, the narratives and storytelling of pro wrestling is the Shakespeare of today.
Pro wrestling, Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that to come in this conversation.
And we can literally be watching Cool Runnings and I'll start talking and she'll go, Kevin, please don't start comparing it to wrestling. I don't want to know. I just want to watch them do the bobsled race.
Yeah. How many times do you think you've watched Cool Run-ins?
Oh, loads of times.
Me too.
Yeah, Cool Run-ins, Strictly Ballroom. I've probably watched more than any other film, I reckon.
Oh, Kevin, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm probably going to have to chop this podcast up into 3 episodes.
Whatever you want to do.
No, I'll probably just chuck it all out there. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on and just have this discussion around sport, Scunthorpe, pro wrestling, mindset, habits, and everything in between. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me on. Really, really cool.
You've been listening to the Real Life Sports Show. I hope you found some value in this free podcast. If you have, then please tell someone else about it. And while you're at it, why not leave me a 5-star review? Also, you can share it on your socials. You'll mostly find me on Instagram at Sam Adams Coach. Use the hashtag RealLife. You can also check me out at my website, sam-adams.com. If you're interested in my coaching or have any comments at all, then just drop me a DM via Instagram and I will get back to you. I look at all my messages and I reply to every single one of them.